I think they could win a playoff series. I think it would be a great series against Cleveland. Like, even beyond just the Donovan Mitchell revenge series against the team he
Right.
never played for narrative. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
that would
Right.
be obviously be really, really fun. And I'm sure there are some people, if not everyone, in that front office and in that organization who are going to be saying, oh man, like you can't lose to Donovan Mitchell in the first round. Like it's going
Right.
to matter to people in that organization what ends up happening there beyond just the basketball reasons why it would matter. But I actually think it would be a great series. The Knicks have beaten Cleveland 2 out of 3 times this year. They play again at the end of March, which could be really important for seeding with how close those two teams are right now. I think the two guards in Cleveland who are so dynamic against Brunson would be really, really fun. Those two rim protectors in Cleveland who are so dynamic defensively, would be amazing to see. With the way the Knicks attack the rim, and that would be a great matchup. I think that would be a really, really fun basketball series. It does seem like that's the most likely one to happen. I don't really see either of those teams passing Philly. And with the way the Knicks are playing, Cavs are playing pretty well. I don't really see them dipping to 6. There's a nice gap widening there, so it
Sure.
seems like that series is going to happen. I think at this point, I don't know. It's hard to say who would win. I think it might be a toss up at this point for me. Like the Knicks could win a series. I can't believe I'm saying it, but the Knicks could
Such a
totally
homer,
win a
Fred, man.
playoff
We
series.
count on you to be critical. And look at you. Become a
Look,
homer. Just kidding.
they are. It's not Sam. It's not just the hot streak, and you say it's
I know.
it's it's not just it's not even just 11 of 12, and it's not even just 12 of 14. Since December 4th, they're 29 and 14. I mean, that's
Yeah.
a 43 game sample. That's more than half the season where they're
Why,
29 and
Fred, like
14.
why have they become so good? I mean, obviously Randall's playing well. We mentioned quickly Jalen Brunson's been the signing of the offseason, but like what has gotten it to the point where noted New York cynic Fred Katz and the New York media believe they could actually win a playoff series?
Well, I chose December 4th not because it's an arbitrary date, because it actually signifies something. That's the date that Tom Thibodeau shortened the rotation to 9 guys. No more Cam Reddish, no more Evan Fournier, no more Derrick Rose. Went to 9 guys on that date. They had a terrible loss to Dallas on December 3rd, where they gave up 40 points in the third quarter. Tim Hardaway Jr. and Luka Doncic individually outscored the Knicks in the third quarter of that game. And they just got blown. The doors got blown off of them at home in the third quarter against Dallas. And major changes came. They were 10 and 13 on that date, and they really turned it around. Part of it is the defense. They were 24th or 26th in points allowed per possession at that point. And the defense has really ratcheted up, in part because of the rotational changes. Quentin Grimes is so much better defensively than he was last year, I think, where he was pretty good. Emmanuel quickly is just so improved, and he's been playing more minutes under these circumstances, and that's obviously huge. Mitchell Robinson has been so much better defensively as well. And the other part of it is like Julius Randle is playing out of his mind. Since November 29th, he's taken more threes than any other player in the Eastern Conference. It started right around then that he started chucking up all those threes. And Jalen Brunson, who just won Player of the Month in February in the Eastern Conference, is out of his mind too. He's averaging just short of 30 a game since January 4th. You have 2 guys playing at a clear all-star level for 3 months or so, and a bunch of other bench guys stepping up at that level. The Josh Hart trade was great for them too. Yeah, that's another one where he's just they're 9-0 with Josh Hart. He's been a perfect fit for them. He came in, he closed his first game there. He just fits in with their identity. He's such a Gibbs player.
Why do you think
the prototype of a Gibbs player.
Why do you think it's different than a couple of years ago when they did what I think they were the 4 seed in that Hawks series, and it seemed like one of those years where it's like, all right, well, Thibodeau clearly maximized them in the regular season, and which is a criticism of him, I guess you could say, that like it doesn't translate as well to the playoffs when everybody's scouting and preparing and attacking the game like Thibodeau does in the regular season. Like, why is it different than that season?
Because they're so much more complete. Like they're just that team, that Hawks series. The narrative came around. Okay, the Hawks swarmed Julius Randle, and Randle looked overwhelmed because he's not a lead facilitator. He's the guy who has been next to Jalen Brunson. That's where he can excel and be his best. And they swarmed Randle. and Randall struggled, and the offense really struggled, and they lost in 5 to Atlanta. And I think the narrative coming away from that series was, okay, the Knicks style, the way that they played was not conducive to the playoffs, and it didn't work in the Hawks series, and Randall was too slow to adjust, Tibbs was too slow to adjust, and it didn't work stylistically. And that is partially true. But I don't believe that that's the main reason why their offense struggled so much against Atlanta, which was not an elite defense or anything like that year. The reason their offense struggled so much against Atlanta was because they had a bad offense that year. Like, they were 24th in offensive efficiency. So when you go up against the playoffs, you're going to struggle even more. And I think that's what happens. The Knicks right now, I think, are fifth. They're fifth in points per possession. Like, they are the fifth best offense in the NBA right now. I mean, this is a totally different team. Now they don't do it in the way the Warriors do it. They don't look like the 2014 Spurs. They in Dallas are the two most isolation heavy teams in the NBA. But Brunson is amazing in isolation. He's one of the best point guards in the league now. Randall has been chucking them up, and they've really found the way to score without 3-point shooting because they're just good at all the other things. You know, Mitchell. Don't overlook Mitchell Robinson's offensive rebounding. Like, he and Steven Adams are two best offensive rebounders in the league, in my opinion, and it's so essential to their offense. Isaiah Hartenstein's offensive rebounding. I mean, they're really as good of an offensive rebounding team.
They
as you're gonna
profile
get.
really
That's a
well,
big part
man.
of it too.
Like, yeah, 5th in offense, 14th in defense. And then this is not even trying to go down the hot take road here. And I hadn't had this thought all season long, but you know, if this continues, is Tom Thibodeau the guy who we all assume? I mean, listen, the arc of Tibbs' career is year 3. Everybody starts getting tired of his voice. That's what we are used to believing. To his credit, he's gone from being a guy that we were talking about around the league as possibly being in trouble, hot seat wise, to, you know, playing a big part in this turnaround, and probably should be in on that coach of the year conversation.
I mean, they're very well coached. I
Yeah.
don't think you can watch them and think of them as anything other than well coached. They play crazy hard. Everybody has. So I was having a conversation with Mitchell Robinson at his locker about a week ago, and there was a play in a game that they were in where against Boston at home, actually, last week, where it's the fourth quarter, tight game. Mitchell Robinson blocks Malcolm Brogdon at the rim, and then he busts to the other side, and he's the first one down the court. Like, he doesn't just beat his man; he beats everyone down the court after getting a block. Quickly puts up a floater in transition, and Mitch has perfect positioning for offensive rebounding because he got down the floor so quickly, and he gets a tip in. So I asked Mitch about that, and I asked him why he was running so hard down the court and what his goals are when he's just busting ass in transition like that. And I thought he was going to say, "Oh, you know, you're trying to fill the lane and hopefully you get a wide open dunk out of it." I thought that's what he was going to say, and it wasn't what he said. He just immediately says, "Transition threes." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I got to draw the defense in, and that way Quickly or Grimes or Josh Hart or somebody else can get an open transition 3 because that's going to be the big thing. That's all I'm trying to do when I'm busting down the floor like that." It's like, man, that's not just like knowing your role. That's kind of like knowing your role is I set screens and I dive and I play defense and I block shots and I call the defensive signals and all that. That's like understanding the nuances of your role. That's really embracing your role in every single type of context. And I think they have that across the roster. And it's not unheard of, certainly. There are a lot of other teams like that, but it's more uncommon than not that you have a bunch of guys who just understand their roles to that degree, to the way that Mitchell Robinson was talking about, the way that Quickly does, the way Grimes does, the way Hart does. Brunson, even Randall, the way that he's adjusted next to Brunson so willingly.